Hello, everybody. I just want to do the video for the review for the test. So the test it's more of a quiz, but it is 25 questions long, and let me just share my screen. It's going to be on Word and Excel, and basically it's just kind of a preview for the final. Because the final is going to be software based. And so I want to let you see how I'm going to ask questions about software. So that's kind of what this is really for. So there are 25 questions. There's some true false. I think 10 of them are true false. And then there's multiple choice. And then there's here's a list of answers for the last 4 questions, 21 through 24. And pick one of the answers. So it's kind of multiple choice, but you get the same answers for each one. And remember to only pick or use one answer once for 21 through 24. So having said that, there are certain things that I would like you to know or remember about Word. So the first thing is, the ribbon. We have different ribbons across the top, and I'm going to be looking up here a lot. But we have different ribbons across the top, and each ribbon has a whole bunch of controls in it. And each ribbon is divided into different parts. So they're called groups. So our ribbons our controls are organized into groups. So this is the paragraph group, and this is the font group and the styles group. And if I go to a different ribbon, this is the document formatting group. This is the pages group or the links group. And by the way, PowerPoint is the same way. Excel is the same way. The ribbons are organized into groups of controls. Now, whenever we're creating a document, there should really be 3 steps. So the first step, and by the way, it's not just Word, it's PowerPoint or Excel or anything that you're creating. The first thing is content. So which is the thing that we don't do in this class or in classes about software. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create your content. And don't worry about how it looks till you get to step 2. Step 2 is to format your content, your document, or your presentation, or whatever it is. And then step 3 is to make sure that you save your final output, your formatted content, basically. So step 1, create your content and focus on that. Step 2, then make it look nice, format it. And step 3, save your work. Don't just throw it away. I'm actually looking at the test questions, so I'll be looking down here. So a couple of things to remember. When you start a Word document, let me start a new blank document. So if I go to File, New Blank Document, you can see that there are some default settings. And the default settings are Calibri, 11 point. If I go to my line spacing, well, I'm not sure what my line spacing is. So let me type something here. Here, let me just press this. And let me see what the line spacing is. I think by default it's 1.15. So let's see what I get when I highlight this and see what my line spacing is. It's in the paragraph group. Oh, it doesn't say. Is that moving around at all? I think it is 1.15. I'm pretty sure that's the default line spacing. By the way, we also have default margins. And so I should be able to see that if I go to layout and margins, you can see that the normal margins, the default margins, are 1 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom, 1 inch at the left and right. So it's 1 inch all around. Our default color obviously is black. And remember that you can change those things at any time. So the other thing that I want to talk about is, and I'm jumping a little bit because don't save this. We have our ribbons, but above that, we have our quick access toolbar. And remember that the quick access toolbar has the undo and sometimes the redo button on it. It's got the save button, and that you can modify it. You can add a print preview and print a spelling and grammar. What else could we do? Quick print is what I usually add also. So you can modify the quick access toolbar. Again, this is in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. The quick access toolbar is in the top left corner. And you should remember that you can modify that. Now, when you press the Enter key in Word, Word sees that as a new paragraph. So remember, you can always turn your formatting characters on and off, and you can see that here somebody has pressed Enter because it sees this first line as a paragraph and the second line as a paragraph. In this financial aid workshops, that's a paragraph. Even though we think of it as a line of text, remember that whenever you press Enter afterwards, Word sees that as a paragraph. It's very important to understand. Just because of what happens when you format things like you do lists or something like that. When you highlight something, the first thing you see is this little mini formatting toolbar. So the mini toolbar or mini formatting toolbar has some very common formatting options so that you don't have to go to a ribbon. So let's say that I'm on my layout ribbon and I double click on the word requesting. Well, now I have, you know, some very common formatting options that I can use and I can apply to the word requesting. So like I could make it red really quickly without having to go to the home ribbon and then, you know, change ribbons and click on stuff. So the mini formatting or the mini toolbar lets you use common formatting options. Now, typically when we're formatting something, what we want to do is we want to highlight whatever it is that we're working on. We want to then apply our formatting, and then we want to click off of it so that we can see our end product. So one of the things that we do quite a bit is, or a lot of times, we want to apply formatting to something. And this isn't really the best document, but let's say that I want to apply some formatting to financial aid workshops here. And so I do a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm just going to change this all over the place. And I'm going to underline it, and I'm going to change the font size, and I'm going to add a text effect there. Right, and so I apply all of that formatting, and then I think to myself, hey, you know what? I'd like to apply that formatting to some other parts of my document. And the slow way, I haven't taken a class on Word way, is to then, you know, highlight whatever it is that you want and then apply those same formatting options to that section. Well, the easy way and the best way, the smart way, is to highlight what it is that you formatted and use the Format Painter. You can click on the format. Well, I'm going to double click on the Format Painter, and then I can apply the formatting to other things just by clicking and dragging across. Or I could double click on a word or triple click for oops, I guess triple clicking isn't working. Double clicking is working. 1, 2, 3. Nope, didn't do it. Didn't do all. I can just click and drag across, and then it'll apply the formatting. So the Formatting Painter is an easy way to apply formatting that you've applied to one thing to other parts of your document. Now, when we highlight stuff, so let's say that I'm going to undo all this. So before we do formatting, we tend to highlight stuff. But what if I want to change the font size of everything? Well, the easy way to select all of your text is to use Control A. So then, for instance, I could come up here and I could change it to Times New Roman. So now I've changed everything to Times New Roman. I could increase or decrease the font size. Right, so Control A is how we would select everything. By the way, if you need to select a word, you can double click on it. If you need to select a line, the easy way is to click in the margins and you can select one line. And if you want to select a paragraph, you can triple click on the paragraph. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, and that selects the whole paragraph. Okay, so there's that. And I think that's all that's going to be on the test about Word. Oh, always, if you want to see how something is going to print, go to Print Preview. So you can either do that by clicking on File and clicking on the print, and this is the Print Preview, and this will show you exactly how it's going to print out. Or if you modified your Quick Access toolbar, you can just go to the Print Preview and Print button on that Quick Access toolbar, and you can get to it there. So it saves you a step. So anyway, Print Preview will show you exactly how your document or your Excel worksheet or spreadsheet worksheets are going to print, or even your PowerPoint presentations. So Print Preview will always show you exactly how it's going to print. So let's take a look at Excel. Excel is harder, so be careful. Let me grab an Excel document here, and we'll do Excel. There it goes. It's just in the wrong screen. So this is the one you had to modify, isn't it? That's not the one I want. Don't save. This is the one I want. Oops. So here is what is this called? Let's take a look, right? This area is called a worksheet. In this case, I have 1, 2, 3 worksheets. This is not the one I want either. Oh, this is where I want to be. Data files. Here, let's just pick, and let's pick this one. There we go, that's better. So this is called a worksheet. And a worksheet consists of columns that have a letter identifier and rows that have a number identifier. And then where the two meet, that's called a cell. And each cell has what we call a cell reference or cell address. And that's made up of the letter of the column and the number of the row. And you can always see the cell reference of the currently selected cell in the name box, which is up here on the left corner. So see here, it says name box, it says L8. Now, after you've created a worksheet like this, you can always add or delete rows and columns as necessary. And one of the other things that you can do is you can resize a column to fit the widest entry by clicking between the column identifiers. So in this case, between the D and the H. If I double click there, you can see that it resizes to fit the widest entry in that column. So that's called auto size or auto fit. And it'll either make it bigger or smaller, depending on how wide it already is. So you can always use that easily it's called AutoFit in Excel, to change the width of a column to fit the widest entry. Now, there's a couple of ways to navigate from one cell to the next in Excel. One way is to use the Enter key, and that will navigate from the top down through each cell in a row. The other way is to use the Tab key, and let me go to the left here. And if I press Tab, I navigate from the left side to the right side through each cell of a row. So using the Tab key will let me navigate one cell to the right. So that's handy to remember, especially when we're doing data entry. Next, we have formulas and functions, everybody's favorite. So when we create a formula or a function, let me insert a column here and type total here, because I want to do a formula, or I'm going to do a formula first. So remember that a formula is, it starts with an equal sign, and then it's just cells and a plus sign or a minus sign or a division sign. So a formula basically just looks like a equation. It can have parentheses, but there's no function word, so there's no function call. So if I want to do the same thing, I want to add stuff and I want to use a function, I still have to start with an equal sign, because both formulas and functions start with equal signs. But then I have this function name. So in this case, it's sum. Then I have in parentheses, usually a range of cells. So in this case, let's say that I want to do H6, and then I use a colon to represent, or H4 through J4. So we use a colon in between there, and then I got to close the parentheses and press enter. And look at the formula bar. The formula bar will always show you the real contents of a cell. Another thing to remember. It will always show you what's actually in the cell, because remember, oops. That's what happens when I screw this up. Let me delete that and highlight that. Okay, so in K4, right, it actually says 109,745.5. But that's not the actual contents of the cell. The actual contents is shown up here in the formula bar. The actual contents is that function. Remember that a function always has a function name after the equal sign. So I think we used average, min, max. Sum is the addition one. There's one called product, which will multiply stuff. There's a whole bunch of different functions, but it's always equal sign and then the name of the function. Average is a function. And then in parentheses, typically a range of cells. And by the way, if you put a comma between the cells, it's not the range. It's that cell and this cell. So if I did G4 comma J4, then it would add G4 and J4 and not the cells in between. So if you have a range of cells like this, G4, J4, how many cells are there? You cannot do a subtraction. So you have to count G, H, I, J. So it's 4. And by the way, if I have a, range of cells like this, where it says I3 through I15, do not do the subtraction, because that'll give you the wrong answer. The subtraction here is would give me 12, right? If I subtract 3 from 15. but it's not 12 cells. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Because it's not the difference between the two, it's how many there are in that range. So always make sure that you're counting the first and the last one and you're not doing a subtraction. You can do the subtraction, but you just need to add 1 to get the right answer. Now, once you've created a formula or a function, you can copy that formula or a function by clicking the bottom left corner and dragging it to wherever you want to be. And you know, because we use relative or absolute cell addresses, if we use relative cell addresses, Excel will change those to fit what it thinks we need to fit. So you can always copy the contents of one cell to another cell by using that square in the bottom right corner. So let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we have some things about charts. So if I want to chart numbers, or if I want to chart, so a chart is basically a way to graphically represent data. Let's just do a column chart. And I know this isn't the greatest chart, but remember that parts of a chart are different. And we have the chart title, we have the chart itself here, we have the y-axis, oh, come on, the vertical axis, and the x-axis, which is down here. It just says chart area. And then we have the part that tells us what the colors represent. So that's always an important thing to understand. That's called the legend. And the legend shows us what the colors represent. And here, this chart doesn't make any sense, but you know, the colors represent, blue represents salary, and orange represents net revenue, and gray represents commission. So remember that the legend tells you what the colors represent, and that Excel contains all kinds of different charts. So here, let me get rid of this chart and we'll just go to Insert and look at, I have 3D charts. Let's see, oops, I should highlight something. Yeah, I have 3D column charts and bar charts and 3D pie charts. I like the 3D ones. Ooh, that's all fancy. And it's got all kinds of other charts. So just know that Excel contains, you know, 3D versions of pie charts and bar charts and column charts and that stuff. Now there are other things that are going to be on the final exam about Excel and Word, but that pretty much covers what's going to be on this kind of little 25 question quiz test. So where's my sharing of my screen? Stop sharing. There we go. So that's the test. So good luck. You have 35 minutes, I think, to take it. Once you start, you have to do the whole thing, and you have till next, it's Tuesday the 10th. Let me double check. Yeah, Tuesday the 10th to do it. So you should be able to find half an hour, 35 minutes to take the test. Okay, so good luck and make sure that you take it. Okay, we'll see you later.